During the antebellum manufacturing boom, American industrialists rapidly expanded the country's war-torn rail network, continuing to push the American frontier westward. To finance these expansion projects, banks sold bonds to bright-eyed investors. Following the defaulting of a major railway project, the primary funding bank, J. Cook and Company, collapsed and triggered a slew of other banks to fail. When too many European and American investors attempted to recoup losses and withdraw money at the same time, they created a major bank run. This economic turmoil lasted a total of 6 years, but due to the countless years of loss toward economic growth, the panic became known to many as the Long Depression.
During the Civil War, the United States government started printing greenbacks, or paper money, instead of using gold and silver coins to fund the military. This meant the value was based on people's trust that the government would honor the currency. While this new form of money was good for funding the war, the banks stopped loaning money because they could not back their currency. Due to this, the government passed the Legal Tender Act of 1862, which provided for the federal issuance of paper money that banks had to accept as payment. Greenbacks contributed to the success the North had in the Civil War by providing the government with funds. After the war, there was a debate on whether the government should keep greenbacks in circulation. In 1866, Congress retired a small fraction of the nation's greenbacks, but soon halted when the economy began to fall. In 1873, the government also passed the Coinage Act. This ended the practice of the government printing silver dollars, making gold coins the main currency the government used. The constant change in legal money played a large role in the Panic of 1873.
J. Cook was an American financier born on August 10, 1821. In 1861, he founded the J. Cook and Company as a private investment bank in Philadelphia. Cook's company sold the U.S. Treasury bonds known as 520s in order to raise money for the Northern War effort. His company rose to the top in the following years but would eventually endure an inevitable downfall. While searching for more government work, he found none. This led to Cook shifting to railroad finance, as it was the big new investment for most people in the late 1860s and early 1870s. Cook first sold minor issues for railroads, but then moved to finance the Northern Pacific Railway Company. This project was projected to be the largest construction project in United States history, stretching from Lake Superior to the Puget Sound on the Pacific coast. Between 1866 and 1873, 35,000 miles of new track were laid across the country. This new industry was America's largest non-agricultural employer. European investors saw American railroads as an economic investment to make a profit. In 1870, Germany won its independence from France in the Franco-Prussian War and unified under one central government. Germany demonetized silver, introducing a new gold currency. Due to this, the Vienna Stock Exchange crashed as it was unable to sustain the fake expansion. Returns on railroad investments declined. After that, many Viennese banks failed, leading to European railroad investors selling their bonds back. This lack of income for J. Cook and Company and lack of funding for the railroad meant the railroad could not be finished. As a result, J. Cook and Company bankruptcy on September 18, 1873. Creditors began to lose confidence in railroads and the banks that financed them. Investors began to withdraw funds to cover their losses.
2 days after the bankruptcy of J. Cook and Company, the New York Stock Exchange suspended trading for the first time on September 20th, 1873. It took 10 days to reopen. Almost one-fourth of the nation's 364 railroads crashed due to bankruptcy. A total of 1,800 businesses failed within just 2 years. By 1876, unemployment rates reached a high of 14%. If you were lucky enough to have a job, your wages were likely to be reduced by almost 15%. These high unemployment rates and lowered wages led to civil unrest. In 1877, workers all over the country were enraged about their wage cuts and poor working conditions. These furious workers hit and prevented trains from moving, requiring the sending of federal troops to be stopped. This fiasco ended with more than 100 people dead and many injured. The economic struggle shifted the focus after the war from giving black rights to fixing the economy. This ended up increasing white power in America with the introduction of a large white supremacy organization known as the Ku Klux Klan. The KKK restricted black power, giving whites the ability to ignore black rights and increasing white supremacy. At the end of the panic, white supremacy was reaching new heights after the war. The Panic of 1873 also stopped Reconstruction efforts because of a lack of funding. The end of the Reconstruction contributed to the ignorance of black rights. The fall of many banks gave way to the rise of new banks like Chase and Wells Fargo. Many people believed that the printing of more greenbacks to expand the money supply of the government would fix this large economic disaster. This population created the Greenback Party in 1874. This new party had political influence for 10 years. Its activists pushed for the printing of more greenbacks. This increase would create a mild inflation and create economic prosperity.
The Panic of 1873 changed the course of United States history. From the recall of greenbacks to the European stock market crash and the downfall of J. Cook and Company, the economic crisis was guaranteed to be a large struggle for most Americans. It took 10 years for the American economy to fully recover. The Panic of 1873 changed the political, economic, and most importantly, social aspects of the United States by allowing whites to gain another foothold in America by pushing off social rights movements until the 1900s.